10 years ago, Jim Fitzpatrick gave up a safe, well-paid job in advertising to become a full-time artist. In the decades since, he's produced a stream of portfolios and 2 books. Books dealing with Ireland's pre-Celtic history and illustrated in his distinctive style. He's very definite as to why he left advertising.
Because I was bananas. I was earning an enormous amount of money in advertising and I simply chucked it in and started, to be what I wanted to be, which is an artist. I've often thought, I should be sitting sort of in my little Mercedes driving around the block, but that's not what I wanted out of life. I wanted to be myself.
He's been living the way he wants to for the last 10 years. That's working 6 days a week, including evenings. But it's working in his own way, in his own time. While his style is unique, it's been influenced by turn-of-the-century Japanese prints and, of course, Celtic art. But there's another influence.
I learned to draw. I'm self-taught. I didn't go to art college. I learned to draw from looking at comics and copying the characters in them. Now, in my early work, there's still a sort of an overflow from that sort of period when I was young. And, it carries on later. But essentially, we're dealing with linear style, and my linear style is developed from Japanese prints, which are linear, and comics, which are linear. When I say linear, I mean they are line drawings with colour. And that's essentially what my paintings are.
And one of those paintings takes about 6 weeks to finish. It starts as a pencil drawing, then pen and ink, and finally the paint. His work has appeared on album covers, particularly Thin Lizzy albums, but other groups too have used his services. The 2 books he's written himself were taken up by international publishers outside the country, but his latest one, Erin's Saga, will be published here. Indeed, he thinks it's the first book of its type to be entirely produced in Ireland. Although that will be more expensive, he says the quality of the work will be a compensating factor.
That's the key factor in all this. I want complete control over my own work because I've spent an enormous amount of time producing it, and I want to be able to see it reproduced exactly the way I want it. And the way to get that done is to use the people here that I've worked with before. I know they can do it. I know they can certainly print it better than Spain or Hong Kong. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth it.
And these are 2 of the people he's working with on Erin's Saga. Tim Hurley from the printers and Jerry Malone, whose firm's doing the colour separations. And producing those colour separations is a highly technical job. It begins here at this machine, a laser scanner, where a transparency of a particular painting is attached to a drum. As this turns, a computer separates the colours and produces 4 negatives in the colours cyan, that's blue, yellow, magenta, type of red, and black. Positives of each of these are then made, and finally a printing plate is produced in each of the 4 colours. In turn, these are used to print a picture.
There are always problems with colour separations because it depends on the individual's eye, but we've overcome the initial problems we had, and Jim is now very, very happy with the reproductions we've achieved for him.
These colour separation plates then go to the printer, who's putting together the book, a book which should be in the shops by April. Is he a difficult man to work for, Jim Fitzpatrick?
Very difficult, but we like to work with difficult people itself because we go for the high quality end of market, and he pushed us and we like to be pushed.
So Jim Fitzpatrick's first book to be printed and published in Ireland should be in the shops by Easter, and if there's a message in his work, he's leaving the public to find it.
Brendan Behan said, if you want a message, call Western Union. The same thing applies here. My message is one that I feel inside me. If other people find it, fine, But the message is something that I feel very strongly about, but it is a very personal thing. And to go into detail about it really gets boring,